Hey, welcome students. This is the second video in our series on coding the Swerve bot. In this one, we are going to start using the button switches and talk a little bit about Boolean coding. All right, so before we do that, again, I want to stress good file management. We're looking at project number 1 here. This was the code that we made in the previous video. I'm going to go up to file now and I'm going to do a save as command. What that's going to do is copy over everything I've got to a new file so that I can edit this without losing what I had in project number 1. All right, so I'm going to call this one project number 2. And it's saving to my Google Drive in that robotics folder we created in the last video. All right. Again, if you're going, what, I didn't do that last video, Mr. Coleman, go back, watch video number 1 because we talk about setting up the buttons, we talk about setting up the motors, and we talk about making this code work correctly. All right. So if you remember in the last code, we wrote one that was very sequential. So what's going to happen is you're picking that slot in your robot. Once you hit the play button on the brain, the robot is going to start processing this at a high rate of speed. So you hit play, that 3-second counter is starting. The robot's going to advance to this next line after 3 seconds. It's going to drive forward for 5 seconds. It's going to stop driving for half a second. It's going to drive in reverse again for 5 seconds, and then it's going to stop driving. All right. So it's just going to run right through that program. All right. We're going to put a couple of pause points in this program. So I'm going to take this line here that says wait 3 seconds. Whoops. And I'm going to get rid of just that one. All right. And to do that, I've got to kind of drag and separate my code into some different parts. All right. So I'm going to drag the wait 3 seconds back over here to my toolbox and get rid of it. And now I'm going to go into a control that is an wait until, or wait, yep, here we go, wait until a condition happens. All right, so I said in this video at the beginning, we're going to talk about Boolean coding. And Boolean coding is just a way where we can make the code choose between 2 conditions. We're going to use true or false conditions. So we're going to say if this condition is true, do this. If this condition is false, do this. So in this case, we're going to tell it to wait until this condition is true. Okay, so right here, I've got this little hexagon box. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drive down to sensing. I'm going to scroll down to sensing rather. I'm thinking of driving my robot, getting all excited. I'm going to go to the sensing, scroll down towards the bottom, and here is my bumper sensing. Yeah. So I'm going to drag this 6-sided object over to this 6-sided shape on the weight. I got to drag it over till I see that white line around the outside edge, and I'm going to drop it in. Okay, so right now I'm telling the computer wait until the left bumper is pressed, and then I'm going to drag this code over. I want it to drive forward for 5 seconds and then stop driving. All right, now in our old code, we told it to wait half a second and then go in reverse. Okay? I'm going to get rid of this wait half a second, and I'm going to use this wait until command again. Okay, now I find that wait until under the control section, kind of down towards the bottom of my screen here. Okay, you might have to scroll a little bit to find it. So I'm going to put wait until in there. I'm going to go back to my sensing. I'm going to go down to the bumper sensing, and I'm going to drag this line over till I see that little white box show up. Okay, now I could control this whole program with just the left bumper switch. I could say wait until the left bumper is pressed again, and then drive in reverse for 5 seconds and stop driving. But we want to kind of also troubleshoot our bot a little bit as we're going through this. So I'm going to make the right bumper switch control this next line of code, right, which is going to make the robot reverse. And so again, right now I'm going to wait until the bumper is pressed, the left bumper is pressed. That's going to tell it to drive forward for 5 seconds, then stop. It's going to stay stopped until we press the right bumper switch. It's going to drive backwards for 5 seconds, and then it's going to stop driving. All right, so what I'd like you to do is at this point, come up to File. All right, we are going to save this project, project number 2. You're going to flash this on your bot in just a minute. If it works, come back to the video and I'm going to show you how to make this into an infinite loop. If it doesn't work, do some troubleshooting, make it work, and then come back to the video and we'll make this into an infinite loop. All right, I'm going to assume if you're back and you're listening to me, you've made this code work. You've got the bumpers dialed in. So right now the left bumper is going to make the bot drive forward for 5 seconds. It's going to stop. Then the right bumper is going to make it drive in reverse for 5 seconds and it'll stop. Okay, once it gets to the end of this code, it's not going to do anything else for you the way we've got it written right now. You need to take and press play for that particular slot that you've selected. Okay? We want to make this thing go forever now in this point. So we're going to put in what's called an infinite loop. All right, infinity, that's a very long time. So we are going to put in an infinite loop. So I'm going to take this part here, I'm going to drag it off to the side, and then I'm going to bring in this infinite loop. All right, this is the one that says forever, and it's got a little space in between it. Then I'm going to drag this code that we just created back inside of my infinite loop. And so what's going to happen right now is it'll run through that same code. You're going to hit the left bumper, drive forward for 5 seconds, stop. You'll hit the right bumper, it'll drive backwards for 5 seconds, stop. And this is kind of like a rewind where when it gets to this point, it's going to loop back up to the top and it's just going to keep cycling through here in a continuous loop that will go on and on forever. Right? So again, this is kind of an addition to project 2. So I'm going to come up here and I'm just going to click the save button. I will update this as project 2. You should flash this on your bot and confirm that it does in fact go on forever, or at least 2 or 3 cycles before you get tired of cycling through it. At that point, you could show it to your instructor and then you're going to move on to project number 3.